the water table. Hell, the EPA requirement's 2 feet from mean high water, right? But their recommendation is 5 feet. Why? Because the water filters through too fast, the nutrients go with it, and it ends up going out in our water bodies, in our swales. The studies have been done over the years. There was fecal coliform in the swales of the Spring Lake area. Human fecal coliform. So just because the effluent is in that tank and you don't see it, that doesn't mean the system's working. It doesn't mean the system's working, even if you don't have to pump it out. Because what happens when it filters out, it goes right in and it goes right into that water table. That's why we have environmental issues in Charlotte County. And it's been ignored for way too many years. We have increased red tide. We have increased algal blooms. We have all these things going on, and we have 700 people come to an environmental discussion on water quality in this county, and it's written up for all over the state to see, because people are concerned. You have Captains for Clean Waters constantly looking at why we have fishing problems. One of the #1 industries in our community is out there on the water. And it's a source of income for a lot of people who grew up here. I'm not ashamed of this. I know it's the truth. And I know we're doing the right thing for our community. And with that, I'd make a motion to approve the resolution, sir.
Okay. We have a motion.
I'll second
We have a motion and a second to approve the final assessment resolution for the Ackerman Sewer Expansion Project. Discussion. I'm going to go to, all right, I'm going to go to my left, Mr. Deutsch.
Thank you. I want to thank you folks for coming out, regardless of what you think. We appreciate, we want to hear your comments. A lot of them were valid. A lot of them were a little edgy. Some of them were even inappropriate. Let me share with you, we know our responsibility, because we could easily stay home and say, hey, let's go with 75 people in the county one. We have a responsibility to 185,000 people that live in Charlotte County, plus 20, maybe 25,000 more that come and visit every year, the snowbirds, that we all affectionately love as we stand behind them and wait for the traffic light to change. But I want to share a few thoughts with you. Every one of us raises our hand and takes an oath, similar to the oath I took when I enlisted in the military. And I believe, although we disagree, sometimes a lot, and sometimes we do agree, every single one of us cares about Charlotte County and is serious about doing this job to the best of our ability, as limited as it may be. About in the mid-90s, this county, Charlotte County, with our tax money, when I say our, I wasn't here in the 90s, even though I first came in the 60s, but I wasn't living here in the 90s. And when I say our commission, I don't necessarily mean the 5 of us, I mean the people that have the responsibility to help guide where Charlotte County is going. But in the mid-90s, Charlotte County did a study to see whether or not we should be sewered. The mid-90s. We spent millions of dollars on that, Raymond?
Millions.
We spent millions of dollars on that study, and that study said, and I'll be very simplistic, and I've read it. I read it 6, 7 years ago. Charlotte County must be sewered. That's the simplistic thing. The permeability of our soil is terrible. The canals are closest to the water. What happens when it rains is terrible. We're destroying the greatest natural resource this county has, the Peace River and the Myakka River around us. Virtually, to the best of my knowledge, every year this was brought before the Board of County Commissioners. In fact, I'm going to say something I've never said publicly before. I was only on the board maybe 6 months, Ray, plus or minus 3 or 6 months, and you came around and said, hey, we got this sewer study, do you guys want to study it? You want to do with it? I said, yes, I would. I have no idea, I'd love to know what you said, Chris. I have no idea when Ray came around and spoke to each one of us privately, because it wasn't done publicly. I said yes. 3 commissioners said no.
Good.
Maybe it had something to do with the fact that the 3 of them were up for re-election in another year and a half. I don't know. I'm going to guess Chris said yes. I don't know. You could tell me, couldn't you, Chris? Anyway, 2 years later, after that election, Mr. Sandrock came around again, and I said, yeah, look, And he said, do you want to talk about the sewers now? We had a new board. We had a couple new commissioners. And we said yes, and the five of us agreed, and it started. And I tried to deal with facts because I'm not an environmental fanatic. I had a real estate and development company. I've lived with sewers, I've lived with septic systems, I've dealt with both. And I'm really, you know, I'm not out to rape and pillage our environment, but I'm certainly not a fanatic for taking care of it. But we have a greater responsibility. Every single piece of factual information presented to us said, Charlotte County has to be sewered. The meeting we just had with a study which we just saw the results on, and Chris alluded to it, it's going to take 10 years to get rid of some of the nitrogen in our soil just from all of our good septic systems.
It's a model.
Let me deal with some other facts. The time life, the estimated time life of the average septic system, some have some that last longer, some that is somewhere between 8 and 12 years. The average cost for a new septic system is beyond $10,500. It has a time life to it. They don't last. And if all of us maybe had them inspected the way we should, we'd all be in a little better shape, but they don't last. When we first dealt with this, based on my experience of selling real estate for 30 years and having a development company, I said, and I think it was probably about 7 years ago, plus or minus, I said, I should tell you, you're going to pay for this, but it's going to increase the value of your house. And I said, I think somewhere between 5 and 10%. The president of the Charlotte County Punta Gorda Board of Realtors at the time got up and testified and said, you're wrong, Commissioner. It's going to increase the value of a property 10 to 15%. So if there's a house on this side of the street and the exact same house is on that side, and this has septic and that has sewers, and this is $200,000, this one's going to be worth $230,000. That's a fact presented to this board from different faces by the head of the Board of Realtors. It was my experience, it was somewhere from 5 to 10 in the houses I sold, and there are actually some people that want to come here and buy a house. They don't want to look at a house that has septic, they only want to look at a house that's sewer. Believe it or not, talk to some of your real estate friends. Now, the bottom line is, you know, we're trying to make this as palpable as possible, but we have a responsibility, not to just every one of the people in this room here, but to everyone that's home, and every one of our kids, and every one of their kids as we look to the future. We have some sense of responsibility about doing the best we can to help preserve the quality of this incredible paradise that we have an opportunity to live in. This board, a couple years ago, had the courage to stand up and take the abuse, the lies, some of the disgusting, nasty things that were said to us collectively and individually because we supported the concept of sewers. And we did it because it was right. So let me tell you, don't tell us about our responsibility. I'd much rather be sitting home trying to see if they're ever going to find that treasure in Oak Island or something else will be on TV or whatever. You know, we're trying to do our job here, and we're trying to do it to the best of ability that we can. But every professional scientific piece of information we have points in one direction. To preserve the future of this great county, we've got to work to put the sewers in. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Ciceo, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A lot of good information tonight. I appreciate the public input. I'm going to try to pull this all together. First, I'd like to say I don't know if there's much we can do about the bidet. Put that
is under
aside.
the car.
But you know, well, let me clarify another question. There was a question about an aerobic system.
Yeah.
And I read the statutes, and Florida Statute 381.00655, Section 1C. A local government or water and sewer district responsible for the operation of a centralized sewer system under Section 153.62 2, may grant a variance to an owner of a performance-based on-site sewage treatment and disposal system permitted by the department as long as the on-site system is functioning properly and satisfying the conditions of the operating permit. The very next sentence goes on to say, nothing in this paragraph shall be construed to require a local government or water or sewer district to issue a variance under any circumstance. However, I'd like clarification on if these aerobic systems are considered performance-based on-site systems by the department, if it's within the latitude of the board, if they are newly installed, how many are out there, and if they indeed qualify for a variance. Even though we're not required to give it, I'd like to know if those systems can be exempted.
I'll refer to council on that.
Ms. Miller?
You could grant a variance. The problem is this is an MSBU, so it would not exempt them from the assessment. It could delay them from having to connect, but they still would have to pay the assessment because they're being benefited by having the sewer line available.
Okay, so you're saying just because a line is put in front of their property, that in itself is a benefit even though they're not hooked up?
Correct.
Okay.
Nice try, Joe.
What was that?
Yes, it is.
In other words, you're gonna pay.
And you know,
Yeah.
I really do appreciate everybody coming out here. You know, one of the reasons I won was, when I ran for public office was, truth to power. And I've heard the people speak. And, as into my third year, my first term, I was pretty open in 2016 when I ran. There was some discussion about elections and consequences, and I don't disagree with that. And in 2016, it was at the heat and pinnacle of the Spring Lake sewer project. And I showed up to public forums, and some of those people are sitting here tonight, and I was grilled by them on my position as a candidate. And I said I supported the sewer expansion program as a modern way to treat urban wastewater. I was very open about that, and it was publicized in the newspaper, and my opponent was against it. So in terms of elections, full disclosure, I was out there with it, and there's people sitting right here that questioned me and grilled me on it at length at the Cultural Center and other venues. So I'm pretty much an open book when it comes to that. Really, there's nothing to hide. But you're correct. These regulatory agencies that allow you to install septics in your house are the same ones that tell you you need to hook up to sewer. And that's one of the odd things when I got into this job. You talk about government crossing wires or dysfunction. But even the statutes I just cited, in the same statute, it talks about the legislative intent for on-site sewage treatment, septic tanks. It is the intent of the legislature that proper management of on-site sewage and treatment and disposal systems is paramount to the health, safety, and welfare of the public. It is the intent of the legislature that where publicly owned or investor-owned sewage system is not available, the department shall issue permits for construction and installation, modification, abandonment, or repair of on-site sewage treatment and disposal systems under conditions as described in this section. Finally, it goes on to say, it is further the intent of the legislature that the installation and use of on-site sewage treatment and disposal system not adversely affect the public health and significantly degrade the groundwater or surface water. So even in the statute, they're allowing you to put up a septic system when there's not sewer available. It is a bridge in our urban centers to get to sewers because you have property rights. They cannot not allow you to build and exercise your property rights to build your home just because sewer's not available. So in the statutes, they allow you when it's not available to put in a permitted site. The health department does that at the state level. And the statutes go on to say, the owner of a properly functioning on-site sewage treatment and disposal system, excluding an approved on-site gray water system, must connect to the system or building's plumbing to an available publicly owned or investor-owned sewage system within 365 days. So in the same statute, it says you can put in a septic system, and the same statute says if it's perfectly functioning normally, you still have to hook up to a sewer system once it's available.
Port Charlotte